Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Dald is here with a Chapter 10, Section 4 reading for you. So Section 4 begins India's Muslim empires. The arrival of Islam brought changes to India as great as those caused by the Aryan migration 2,000 years earlier. As Muslims mingled with Indians, each civilization absorbed elements from the other. The Delhi Sultanate. After the Gupta Empire fell in about 550, India again fragmented into many local kingdoms. Rival princes battled for control of the northern plain. Despite power struggles, Indian culture flourished. Hindu and Buddhist rulers spent huge sums to build and decorate magnificent temples. Trade networks linked India to the Middle East and Southeast Asia and China. The Sultan of Delhi defeats the Hindus. Although Arabs conquered the Indus Valley in 711, they advanced no farther into the subcontinent. Then, around 1000, Muslim Turks and Afghans pushed into India. They were fierce warriors with a tradition of conquest. Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni pillaged much of the north, and he did not settle there. In the late 1100s, though, the Sultan, or Muslim ruler, of Gur defeated Hindu armies across the northern plain and made Delhi his capital. From there, his successors organized a sultanate, or land ruled by a sultan. The Delhi Sultanate, which lasted from 1206 to 1526, marked the start of the Muslim rule in the north. Why did the Muslim invaders triumph? They won on the battlefield in part because Muslim mounted archers had far greater mobility than Hindu forces, who rode slow-moving war elephants. Also, Hindu princes wasted resources battling one another instead of uniting against the common enemy. In some places, large numbers of Hindus, especially from low castes, converted to Islam. In the Hindu social system, people were born into castes or social groups from which they could not change. Muslim rule changes Indian government and society. Muslim rule brought changes to Indian government and society. Sultans introduced Muslim traditions of government. Many Turks, Persians, and Arabs migrated to India to serve as soldiers or officials. Trade between India and Muslim lands increased. During the Mongol raids of the 1200s, many scholars and adventurers fled from Baghdad to India, bringing Persian and Greek learning. The newcomers helped create a brilliant civilization at Delhi, where Persian art and architecture flourished. The Sultans lose power. In 1398, Tamerlane invaded India. He plundered the northern plain and smashed into Delhi. Not a bird on the wing moved, reported stunned survivors. Thousands of artisans were enslaved to build Tamerlane's capital at Samarkand. Delhi, an empty shell, slowly recovered. The Sultans no longer controlled a large empire. However, and northern India began again fragmented, this time into rival Hindu and Muslim states. Muslim and Hindus clash. At its worst, the Muslim conquest of northern India inflicted disaster on Hindus and Buddhists. The widespread destruction of Buddhist monasteries contributed to the drastic decline of Buddhism as a major religion of India. During the most violent onslaughts, many Hindus were killed. Others may have converted to escape death. In time, though, relations became more peaceful. Hindu-Muslim differences. The Muslim advance brought two utterly different religions and cultures face to face. Hinduism was an ancient religion that evolved over thousands of years. Hindus recognized many sacred texts and prayed before statues representing many gods and goddesses. Islam, by contrast, was a newer faith with a single sacred text. Muslims were devout monotheists who saw the statues and carvings in Hindu temples as false gods. Hindus accepted differences in caste statues and honored Brahmins as priestly caste. Muslims taught the equality of all believers before God and had no religious hierarchy. Hindus celebrated religious occasions with music and dance, a practice not found in Muslim worship. blending of cultures. Eventually, the Delhi sultans grew more tolerant of their Hindu subjects. Some Muslim scholars argued that behind many Hindu gods and goddesses was a single god. Hinduism was thus accepted as a monotheistic religion. As a protected subject group, Hindus were allowed to practice their religion as long as they paid a poll tax. Some sultans even left rajas, or local Hindu rulers, in place. During the Delhi Sultanate, the growing number of Hindus converted to Islam. Some lower caste Hindus preferred Islam because it rejected the caste system. Other converts came from higher castes. They chose to adopt Islam either because they accepted its belief or because they served in the Muslim government. Indian merchants were attracted to Islam in part because of the strong trade network across Muslim lands. During this period, Indian Muslims also absorbed elements of Hindu culture, such as marriage customs and caste ideas. Urdu, a new language, evolved from a blend of Persian, Arabic, and Hindi. Local artists applied Persian art styles to Indian subjects. Indian music and dance reappeared at the courts of the Sultan. An Indian holy man, Nanak, sought to blend Islamic and Hindu beliefs. He preached the unity of God, the brotherhood of man, the rejection of caste, and the futility of idol worship. His teachings led to the rise of a new religion called Sikhism in northern India. The Sikhs later organized into military forces that clashed with the powerful Mughal empires of India. Mughal India. In 1526, Turkish and Mongol armies again poured through mountain passes into India. At their head rode Babur, who claimed descent from Genghis Khan and Tamerlane. Babur was a military genius, poet, and author of a detailed book of memoirs. Babur founds the Mughal dynasty. Just north of Delhi, Babur met a huge army led by Sultan Ibrahim. I placed my foot in the stirrup of the resolution and my hands in the reins of confidence in God, recalled Babur. His force was small but had cannons, which he put to good use. Primary source. The sun had mounted spear high when the onset began, and the battle lasted till midday, when the enemy was completely broken and routed. By the grace and mercy of Almighty God, this difficult affair was made easy to me, and that mighty army was crushed in the dust. Babur, Memoirs. In little time, Babur swept away the remnants of the Delhi Sultanate and set up the Mughal dynasty, which ruled from 1526 to 1857. Mughal is the Persian word for Mongol. The map in this section shows you that Babur and his heirs conquered an empire that stretched from the Himalayas to the Deccan Plateau. Akbar the Great. The chief builder of the Mughal Empire was Babur's grandson Akbar. During his long reign, from 1556 to 1605, he created a strong central government, earning the title Akbar the Great. Akbar was a leader of unusual abilities. Although a Muslim, he won the support of Hindu subjects through his policy of toleration. He opened government jobs to Hindus of all castes and treated Hindu princes as his partners in ruling the vast empire. Akbar ended the tax on non-Muslims, and he married a Hindu princess. Akbar could not read or write, but he consulted leaders of many faiths, including Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, and Christians. Like the early Indian leaders, Ashoka, he hoped to promote religious harmony through tolerance. By recognizing India's diversity, Akbar placed Mughal power on a firm footing. Akbar strengthened his empire in other ways as well. To improve government, he used paid officials in place of hereditary office holders. He modernized the army, encouraged international trade, standardized weights and measures, and introduced land reforms. Akbar's successors, Akbar's son, Jahangir, was a weaker ruler than his father. He left most details of government in the hands of his wife, Nur Jahan. Fortunately, she was an able leader whose shrewd political judgment was matched only by her love of poetry and royal sports. She was the most beautiful woman in Indian history until the 20th century. Most powerful woman in Indian history until the 20th century. The high point of the Mughal literature, art, and architecture came with the reign of Shah Jahan, Akbar's grandson. When his wife, Mumtaz Mahal, died at the age of 39 after having bore 14 children, Shah Jahan was distraught. "Empire has no sweetness," he cried. "Life itself has no relish left for me now." He had a stunning tomb built for her, the Taj Mahal. Designed by a Persian architect, it was a spectacular white dome and graceful minarets mirrored in clear blue reflecting pools. Verses from the Quran adorn its walls, and pleasant gardens surround the entire structure. The Taj Mahal stands as perhaps the greatest monument of the Mughal Empire. Shah Jahan planned to build a twin structure to the Taj Mahal as a tomb for himself. However, before he could do that, his son, Aurangzeb, usurped the throne in 1658. Shah Jahan was kept imprisoned until he died several years later. Looking ahead, in the late 1600s, the Emperor Aurangzeb rejected Akbar's tolerance policies and presumed persecution of Hindus. Economic hardships increased under heavy taxes, and discontent sparked revolts against Mughal rule. This climate of discontent helped European traders gain a foothold in the once powerful Mughal Empire. That's it for Section 4. Thanks for listening.